DC versus vampires. That's right, the DC universe versus a horde of vampires, in a sense. I love this Elseworlds story, and since I've talked about the artist Otto Schmidt, I think it's a great start to talk about comics again. So, let's start. We follow this mysterious person, covered up with bandages and walking towards the Hall of Justice. He tells us his name is Andrew Bennet, a vampire. He's desperate, and he looks like he's going to ask the League to help. He runs across the street and gets struck by a car, and when he recovers, the sun burns his skin. It engulfs him into flames. Green Lantern arrives to the scene and calms everybody down and takes him to the medical bay in the Hall of Justice. Andrew wakes up and tells Hal he needs to speak to the Justice League. The world is at stake. Get it? But one of the Wonder Twins, Zan, enters the room. Hal tells him he needs to close the door and mentions photosensitivity, meaning he's a vampire. Andrew tells his story. Mary, Queen of Blood, an elder and a leader of the cult of blood, Red Moon, so her word is law. And her wish was for man and vampires to exist in peace. But she was murdered. Andrew spent weeks hunting her killer, and it led to the Legion of Doom. Once he entered the Hall of Doom, many of the villains were already dead inside. He explains a revolution started within the vampires, and their biggest plan is to block out the sun. And the goal was the genocide of the human race. But a survivor was on board, Lex Luthor. He gives him his blood. He whispers to Andrew a location no one can know. He told Andrew to tell the world that Lex Luthor saved the world. Vampire Riddler stops him, and he takes the syringe filled with Lex Luthor's blood. Andrew stabs him in the eye with a syringe, and he turns into dust. He ran for weeks. He noticed agents everywhere he went. Zan then stated, well, I'll go grab the Justice League. And then Green Lantern uses his ring and grabs him. Hal Jordan was already one of them. It's very interesting for him to become a villain since he's been Parallax before in the past. This is kind of like a little nod. Plus, it's kind of nice to know that DC will have him as a villain here and there. To imagine putting a person into a huge blender. Talk about a mixture of feelings reading this comic, huh? But the most interesting part is what Hal tells Andrew when he kills him. Sunlight is a very interesting thing. The sun produces multiple frequencies of light. For example, ultraviolet light provides essential vitamins to humans and feeds plants. It's deadly to you and me. My powers are all based on light, visible infrared and ultraviolet. If I will it, my ring can control it, filtering it away from me or creating that very same light for me to use. This man literally creates a little son of construct and burns Andrew alive, turning him into ash. And when he cleans up with his ring, Aquaman shows up and tells Hal they have a team meeting. We switch to Batman in the Batcave, and he's handed a note by Alfred. Andrew wrote to Batman, telling him everything he was going to do, even giving him Lex Luthor's syringe. But what's funny is what Alfred says. If you like this first issue, follow for more. I want to keep talking about this comic. I think this Elseworlds story is very interesting, and the writer Matthew Rosenberg has some interesting takes that a lot of people might not like in the later issues, with certain characters, deaths, but we shall see what you think. Till then, see you next time.